Well, welcome back to the THC show. Of course, you didn't hear me say that the first time because we had some technical difficulties and apparently the audio wasn't working. So we're going to try this again. I'm broadcasting today from our location of our new dispensary for the Cannabis Substitution Project. That's in a collaboration with the Healing Wave dispensary, and we'll get into a bunch of that later on in the show. On the show today, of course, 8 out of 10 Glenn from Canamatch.ca is here, and he's going to share the 420 session with us. And Jerry Martin will be here for the Martin Medical Moment as usual, but then we're going to spend the rest of the show just going over what's going on in our dispensary here and stuff like that. Of course, this show was designed to talk about the battle for the rights for people to get access to cannabis, and at the forefront of that, of course, is the medical users. The medical users have really had quite a battle, and they led the charge, and they probably got us to where we are with this so-called legalization. And Mr. Trudeau, lying through his teeth, as politicians are known to do, told us that the medical user would be looked after in the legalization system. They wouldn't have to worry about, their needs. They'd just be able to go to the government store and get what they needed. Well, that turned out to be completely false, because the government stores, by their own definition, are non-medical dispensaries, and certainly by any definition, they're non-medical dispensaries. If you look at the products that they have for sale there, the cannabis is old, it's stale, overpriced for sure, and they don't even have high-dose edibles. And high-dose edibles are really at the heart of what most medical patients are looking for, that really help them the most. And when you're talking about medical, that includes all the people that are on opioids and that are now struggling with opioid misuse syndrome. And the cannabis has been proven to be effective for many people in transitioning off of those opioids. And so now here we have the overdose crisis, the other pandemic that's been running here for the last 3 years, that's been increasing because of the COVID pandemic that we have. And so it's just been really, really difficult for people to get what they need with respect to medical. And the government has gone around shutting down all the medical dispensaries that were there, that were at the crux of access, according to Judge Phelan in the Allard decision, for people using for medical. They've been shutting all those places down. It's been a real nightmare for people that used to have some sort of reasonable access, and now they don't have it at all, mostly. So what we've done with the Cannabis Substitution Project, as you probably know, is brought in high-dose edibles to give away for free to people to make it as easy as they could to transition off of those opioids. And we ran that program for over 3 years. During that time, a year ago, on June 26th last year, the City of Vancouver passed a motion allowing for what we were doing and for the distribution of cannabis in the Hastings downtown east side corridor that was originally an exclusion zone. The motion removed that exclusion zone, allowed for the dispensing of cannabis, specifically to target the overdose crisis. And to target the overdose crisis, as we've demonstrated, proven, and come to really understand with the Cannabis Substitution Project, that takes high-dose edibles. And of course, the government stores, their edibles are capped at 5 milligrams, which isn't going to do any good for anybody that's trying to get off of opioids or using for medical reasons. So it's been quite the battle. And the City of Vancouver passed that motion to allow for that. And so we went to respond to that, and it's taken us a while to do it, but we finally have. We've got ourselves a storefront dispensary. We're in a collaboration here, a collaboration where on the dispensary side, we have low barrier access. So the cannabis is really, really good because it has to be, because we are considering what we're doing here medical. And the prices are really, really low. We have 4 really good strains right now. They're all only $3 a gram. We're going to try to improve on the strain selection and even improve on the price as we move forward here. We have high-dose edibles for people, and they're also for sale here in the dispensary side. This is a collaboration, as I mentioned. The dispensary provides free rent and space for the Cannabis Substitution Project to do their thing here all day, every day. So people that qualify financially or have been members of our Cannabis Substitution Project for the last 3 years and 4 months, or however long they've been there, they will get members of the Cannabis Substitution Project side, and they'll be able to choose what they want in ways that work for them in exchange for a little bit of information about what works for them and how it works for them, and that'll be free to them. So that's what we're doing here. This whole prohibition of cannabis has been quite ridiculous for a long time, hasn't it? I mean, I got lots of people trying to tell me that, oh, well, you know, you better not do it this way, and you better not allow for that, and then you only do this much here, and because they're all going to come in and try to stop us from doing that, or shut us down because of that. But, you know, we're prepared for all of that. I pity the fool that's going to try to argue against what we're doing here and trying to allow poor, sick people access to good quality natural herbal medicine that should have been there 100 years ago. We should be in an extremely different world right now if human beings, free human beings in this so-called democracy that we're in, were able to actually access cannabis the way that they should have been able to. We would have now, 100 years into you know, the dawn of that being made available to people, we would have wonderful access, and it would be all over the place and everywhere. But instead, we're here, and it's got nothing to do with anything wrong with the plant or with cannabis. It's got everything to do with greed and ignorance and self-righteousness. And those three things have been driving this prohibition of cannabis for the last 100 years or so here, and it's become a really, really horrible thing that has been the way it's gone instead of the way it would have gone if we could just use the plants as they work for us without having big corporate interests come in and want to protect other things that they want to sell you that they can patent. It's usually full of all sorts of toxic chemicals and things like that. So it's really, really sad. We've been fighting the battle for a long time. Cannabis, you know, originally was not only medicine, but it was used for so many things throughout the world and for so long. And here in North America, in the United States, in the early 1700s, when it was forming, the colonies were forming, and people were coming from Europe and other places, and they were getting land given to them by the federal government in the United States, cannabis was a mandatory crop. Everybody had to grow it. If you got land from the federal government, it was extremely important for the economy of the day. And it wasn't just industrial cannabis, because we have George Washington talking about how the cannabis from India is more beneficial to people, you know, in a medical way, and that's what they were talking about back there. In fact, cannabis was at the heart of medicine for a long time in the United States. It was the second most used formulation. It was in all kinds of different things. It was used for all kinds of different things, as it should be. But then somewhere, you know, along the way, it became something that wasn't able to compete fairly with those things that people could patent, and some other people had some interest, and the industrial side had a lot to do with it too. And so a lot of people kind of went to work to kind of demonize cannabis. There was also some racial stuff going on there at the time. There was the migrants that had come up from Mexico that were working in the southern United States, and so they used the prohibition that came in against cannabis to put those people down and to oppress them, much like what we see going on in our world today that's still going on. That those forces will use whatever they can to meet their goals of you know, being dominant and superior over other people and other races, and that's a lot to do with cannabis too. And so cannabis laws came into effect in the early 1900s, and then were seized upon by these other corporate groups that used it to protect their interests, you know, the cotton industry and other industries like that. Certainly the oil industry, where cannabis, when used for fuel, you know, plants just capture sunshine or sun's energy, and then we can take that energy back out of them and use it as fuel. Corn is really good for that. They really tout using corn for fuel, but cannabis is 10 times more efficient than corn is for making fuel out of it. So there was all these other interests that were involved in making cannabis a demonized, prohibited, illegal, criminalized commodity. And well, you know, it's just the carnage has been so huge. It's been going on for so long, and there's so many ruined lives. There's been so much wasted money. There's been so many broken up families. There's been so many people that were made to feel guilty about their choice of what they want for themselves. It's incalculable, really. And here we are still in 2020. We're turning it around. We passed the tipping point. The media is reporting on how valuable cannabis is. It's all becoming clear about all of that stuff as we move forward here. But it's time that they stop it all. It's time that they not only properly legalize, or legalize me and all my friends, and anybody who wants to grow a plant, and anybody who wants to grow enough plants for their friends and neighbors, and anybody who wants to grow enough plants that they can make some money off of. None of that stuff is a crime. None of that stuff should be anything that our public servants should try to interfere with. They're not there to impede commerce and business. They're there to help facilitate us free people, you know, public servants after all. They're supposed to be helping us in whatever ventures we want. And when two people or groups of people want to exchange between themselves, one has a service, the other wants to pay for it, one has a commodity, the other one wants to trade for it, that's not the government's business. It's never the government's business. The only role the government has to play in that is to make sure that that's facilitated as best as possible. And if there's problems arise, if there's things that are not right about the products that are being sold, if those things come to view, then the government has a role to bring in some regulations that would counter that and that would address that. And that's kind of the thing. That's where the government's role is just to keep us safe where reasonable, tell us the truth and educate us where necessary, and then get the hell out of the way while people do what people do. And if you're not harming somebody else in what you're doing, it's not a crime. And that the government thought that they could make it a crime for people to be growing plants, to be trading plants, to be consuming plants, is just completely absurd and really, really wrong. Because a crime is a serious thing. A crime is when you have two criteria that are met. And that is that you have the thought in your mind, the understanding in your head that you're actually going to harm somebody if you carry through with the actions that you're thinking of. It's called mens rea. And you gotta have it or it's not a crime. Because if somebody didn't know that they were going to do damage before they did damage, it's almost never a crime, unless it was criminally negligent, or unless there was, you know, some sort of profit being made, so there was a blind eye turned to it, and so that can also be willful blindness and can be a crime. But for the most part, all crimes require mens rea, that knowledge in your mind that you're going to do damage to somebody, and actus rea. You actually did it, you fucking asshole. You know, you thought about it, you realized you're going to hurt somebody in a wrong way, and you went ahead and did it. Well, now you're a criminal, and now that's how you should be treated. And it's not a very cool thing to do, and our society looks harshly on people that actually understand that their actions are going to hurt people, and then they go ahead and do it. And then we got the scales of justice that decide all of that. So once, and you're innocent till they prove you guilty in our world, right? We've come a long way in figuring out some things. We had common law for a while, now it's the rule of law, but realistically for hundreds of years we've been working on what it takes to be a crime and what it takes to adjudicate a crime. And so innocent until proven guilty, but once proven guilty, having the ability to meet your accuser and see face to face the person that says that you harmed them in some criminal way. And then when it's beyond a reasonable doubt that it was you and you did it and you knew you were going to do it and you meant to do it and damage was done, well then the scales of justice come in. How much damage did you do? And then what's a penalty that balances that damage? That's the job of a reasoned, wise judge and adjudicator of these things. And that's the system that we're supposed to have here. That we've got a system where, you know, now with the rule of law in play, where all they have to prove is you broke the rule of law, and then you get a penalty, and that penalty is not based on the scales of justice. That penalty is based on what other people got penalties for in the past. And those are determined by how much money you paid to a lawyer or not, and all of the, and whether you got a bad ruling or a good ruling, and all of that. And this system is allowed for this horribly unjust, corrupt, immoral, dangerous, and costly situation of drug prohibition or the drug war. And it's really immoral. It has no basis in what's actually right. It was never really designed at all to protect people from what could be dangerous interactions with plants. It was always just about protecting the greedy people who want to have their interests protected, and they don't want human beings to be able to access a plant that they can grow for themselves to get their medicine and their food and their clothing and their fuel and all of these things that we're able to use this plant for. That is not in the interests of those people that control those other, usually synthetic substitutes for what those things are. And so many people have been harmed in so many profound ways, and here they are still going at it. Well, what we've done here is we've opened up a dispensary that is contrary to what the system says is allowed, and we're going to do it the right way, as we always have done. Cannabis Substitution Project and everything else I've been involved with has been trying to do things the right way. We're not going to necessarily fight against the way things are in the world. We're going to try to show the way things should be, and like I say, pity the fool that's going to argue with the way things should be, especially with what we're doing here and the way that we're doing and where we are here. Because we are in the heart of the pandemic that is the overdose crisis, and we're going to help save people's lives. I see it's 4:19, so, you know, if you got them, roll them. A minute from now you can light them. And I'll just continue to say that, you know, the drug war has been a horrible thing, and it's resulted in some really nasty things, and it's resulted in opioids being the drug of choice for doctors instead of cannabinoids, and that's resulted in the overdose crisis because of the illegal drug trade in opioids and how that's all evolved, and now it's really, really serious. And so we're here to address that. We're going to provide cannabinoids that'll help save people's lives, not just in this neighborhood, but hopefully throughout the world eventually, because it's the right thing to do. And let them come and try and address what we're doing. We are part of a federal study as to how cannabinoids work for people, and we're also responding to the motion passed by the City of Vancouver to allow this to happen. So we think that they're not going to be able to interfere with us too much, and we'll see where it goes. Well, that brings us to 4:20, and as always on the show so far, 8 out of 10 Glenn from canamatch.ca. How you doing, Glenn?
Good, Neil. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Somebody took my couch.
Yeah, sorry about that. We'll work on getting some couches back before too much longer.
And I brought us some special joints. This is a special day.
Yeah, let's light it up here.
Got a nice little 6-gram cigar here.
Little 6-gram cigar.
Well, there's a few people here, right?
I have a friend of mine. Who used to talk to me about pinners. He'd say such and such. I forget where it was. Not Seashell, but not Gibson's, but somewhere up there he would call it this pinner. And I didn't quite know what he was talking about at first. And then I realized this pinner was probably more like that. Or maybe it was more like this.
Oh yeah, hey, there you go, the THC show.
Smokes.
That's 16 grams.
I'd take it out of there, but I put it in there a little tight, so we're going to have to be careful how we get it out of there now. I might leave it in there for a while because that's more than I can handle. And it's so beautiful, you know, you don't even want to interfere with that.
Custom Smoke Canada.
Custom Smoke Canada. Thank you so much. You know, they gave me that. I probably shouldn't smoke all that myself in it because I'm a lightweight guy, right? You'd smoke it.
No,
you gave me that.
Yeah, I bought that for you guys. Yeah.
What are you promoting them for then?
Well, no. They're my friends.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
there you go.
Here, have a puff.
I just helped you do that. All right.
6 grams of weed in this one, or 5 grams, and 1 gram of distillate. And that one's 16 grams, which is 13 and 3.
Hoary smoke, man.
I know, eh? I think we should share some with Neil, too.
Yeah, someone should take this away from me before I hurt myself with it. Boy, we've been trying to demonstrate that for a long time, too. You can't hurt yourself.
No, we can't, no. Except if you trip or fall.
What?
Yeah.
But typically smoking weed, you're a little more cautious.
Yeah,
you know? I never trip and fall.
No.
I mean, I played hockey, all my hockey. I mean, I was blazing every time before playing hockey. And I mean,
well, you never know with different people, right?
Well, for sure, everybody's different. But, you know, I mean, sure, you can smoke so much. I mean, maybe, and you got distillate in there. I mean, I'm going this way.
That's to Neil, yeah.
All right.
And then around?
You can smoke too much.
Yes.
You can smoke too much, but it's not easy.
Have you ever got a headache from smoking too much?
Oh, yeah. But that's just because I'm a lightweight now.
Yeah.
Because I kind of smoked maybe too much in my life. I don't know. I had the one Freedom Tour. The first one.
Yeah.
We had the herb school. 16 years ago, we had the herb school 1 block over on Hastings.
From here?
Yeah, just 1 block that way.
Wow.
A building almost identical in size and shape, but that one was full of vermin and had to be renovated like crazy. And this one we just moved right into real quick. But what are we talking about?
Vermin. A block away.
No.
Yeah.
Herb school.
Herb school,
but,
yes.
16 years ago, Freedom Tour. 16 years ago on the Freedom Tour. And that was a tour that came to me in literally a vision of a bright white light hitting me in the head and automatic writing beside me going on. And when it was over with, I was going to take the drug war history walking tour to Ottawa, talk to the Prime Minister about freedom and all that kind of stuff. And had I had any clue of what that would entail as far as the logistics of getting all that way without having money and a vehicle and all the rest and contacts and the rest of it. I mean, I never would have done that. But I was naive. But I was also being motivated by this vision that I had that I needed to do this. And once I told somebody this is the vision I have and I think this is what I'm going to do, then the universe just sort of kicked in all of these things that made it happen. It was incredible. But the point is that at the herb school, we would smoke a lot of joints in our lounge, and we would keep our roaches, you know, big, beautiful roaches, in great big jars. And so, for the freedom tour, I didn't have a lot of weed to take with me, you know, I mean, it's a long trip, and one of the things I brought with me was a quarter pound of roach pot, minus the paper, minus the ash, and we're here in the dispensary, so it's a little noisy sometimes, so bear with us, so hopefully you can hear what we're saying. So I brought that with me, and of course it's really dry in rural Canada, you know, I mean, it wasn't long past Alberta that I sort of ran out of weed. And, you know,
on the way there or on the way back?
On the way there.
On the way there already.
I mean, people hooked me up along the way as I went. I was meeting these people, but there was big gaps in between. And I had all this beautiful golden roach pot. So I smoked a lot of that. And of course, on the way back, well, I didn't have nothing else. And,
no way. And you didn't have anywhere to.
So when I was smoking, you know, it is what it is. I mean, what I had, I really didn't need much. I was given things, and people helped me out and hooked me up for sure. Thanks to all those people that did that. That were watching the show. One of these days, we'll do a Freedom Tour thing. It was a 4-year event of amazing people across Canada helping me out with shit, and it was just incredible. But yeah, on the way back, what I had going on was 3rd and 4th generation roach joints.
Oh yes, and that's where I get my headaches from, is smoking too many roach
I think I blew my brains with that stuff a little bit. Careful about that, I guess, because I did get a couple of times, you know, on the later part of the trip where I got massive headaches, and then that has continued to this day. Or if I smoke too much, but you know, mostly the cushions, or I don't smoke much roach pot, but you know.
I'd rather have a headache than be drunk and stupid and falling down and hurting myself or something, right?
I don't want to bash the people that prefer hangovers, you know, but I had a weed hangover just the other day. I mean, I woke up in the morning, my head wasn't feeling good, because I haven't been well actually for the last couple of weeks,
Well, you look at
including today. But I'm here and I'm okay. I'm not as bad as I could be. But I did have a tough night last night. I started belching bile. What a crazy thing.
Acid reflux.
Acid reflux, I guess.
Acid reflux.
And so I, you know, about a dozen or more times I had to like lean over and get out this stuff that had come up, and it just trashed my throat. I could hardly talk this morning. And I was up in the night doing that, plus other things, so I was pretty tired this morning. I didn't get here at 10:30 when I was supposed to. I didn't get here till 1 o'clock.
I take one little tiny pill, 10 milligrams, and I'll carry it. Covers you for 24 hours, no acid reflux. So
well, I don't usually have it.
Or Zantac. I think you can buy Zantac.
I've had that.
But maybe you're getting older and you're going to get acid reflux.
I had a really nice meal last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a really nice meal at the keg because we wanted to celebrate that we got this going on. You know, this is such a monumentous event now. We are at the beginning of what should be an amazing journey.
It's going to be we're going to be here for it.
We're about to do the same thing at another location with the people that were the Green Cross. And now come together in a similar model to this one.
Cool.
And we're hoping that a lot of other people do the same thing.
There's a lot of people out there that need you. And
there's a lot of people out there that need weed.
Yes, but you're providing it for them.
And the dispensaries are great and everything. And prohibition is still going on out there. There's quite a green market out there. And $10 a gram is a lot of money for a lot of people. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people it is. And those people deserve access to good weed too. You know, it shouldn't be priced so that only the rich people can smoke good weed. I never thought
and
that.
Anybody can come here from the lower mainland. They don't have to be from the downtown.
Anybody can come from anywhere, but we are a private members club.
So you understand to be a member?
So when you come in, we're going to say, are you a member? If you're not a member, then we're going to give you one of these cards. We're going to put your name there, whatever name you want to put there. and we're going to give you the number that is next up on the book, and boom, you're a member.
There you go.
The reason for this is because we are a low barrier.
Yes.
And low barrier means that we can't be turning people away because they don't have ID, or they don't want to give us ID, or they're afraid to give us their name for good reason, because who knows, the government's been coming after people for, you know.
And there's not just low barrier in the downtown east side, like I was saying, all around the lower mainland.
Low barrier should be for anybody.
There's lots of low barrier people, right?
Like, for example, there's a lot of people that are using opioids and they're in trouble with that. They've got that misuse syndrome or addiction going on. And they would like to use cannabis high-dose edibles to get off those, because they've heard now that maybe that can help them, maybe that can work, maybe they can have an even better time of whatever from whatever drug they're taking than what they're doing now. And they can't get it.
No.
So they couldn't walk into an illegal dispensary and get it maybe. They've been able to do that, but they shut most of those down. But a lot of people don't want to walk into those places.
No.
And a lot of even those non-licensed dispensaries were making sure that everybody showed ID. And some of those people, they don't want to be seen going into those places because they don't want anybody to know that they've got this thing going on that they're ashamed of, or that they're afraid of how their families
here
are.
They don't have to be.
So here, you know, and it shouldn't just be here. We are trying to show the model of what should be, and we're hoping a lot of other
just
people.
like in the very beginning with BC Compassion Club, Hillary Black started here in Vancouver, and here you are starting a new thing here again in Vancouver.
Well, we're kind of following in the footsteps of the Medicine and Cannabis Dispensary and the Compassion Club and other places like that. But we're reinventing it a little bit because now I think in this day and age, we should be able to get those prices down to what people can afford.
Yeah.
And because we've also got so-called legalization, and we've also won the war of the public's opinion and those types of things, I don't think that we need to hide or be very, very careful anymore. We're going to get into this with Jerry real quick here about you know, how you have to be careful opening one of these places with respect to what the government will do if you're not doing everything just right. Well, we think it's time that you know, we don't have to do everything just right anymore. People don't have to have a doctor sign on anymore. Human beings get to decide what they want, and many, many other things like that. So I'm hoping this is the new model for how medical dispensaries should be. Although we're not there yet. We're not even really officially open at all. That's probably coming in a few weeks from now. But right away we wanted to help people. As soon as we had the space, we wanted to help people. So we've got both of those things going on. We're set up to be able to give people what they need now as we continue to get a whole bunch more things set up and ready and put into place so that we can really help people.
Are you going to put a table at your Cannabis Day on July 1st?
We'll be there on Cannabis Day. Yes, we will. I'm still rocking this shirt, you know.
A couple more weeks to go.
No.
You're going to have to give me
not even a couple more weeks. I think it's just like 11 or 12 days.
Yeah, it'd be 15 days, 2 weeks.
What are we now?
But it's 2 weeks tomorrow.
16th today.
Yeah, it's 2 weks tomorrow.
Is it? Oh, good. We got another one on Sunday, a rally at Crab Park for the homeless and
they just had the police there today.
I heard that.
They're all gone. Yeah, they all moved. They moved them out.
So they're not gone.
Well,
where did they go?
To another place.
Yeah, exactly.
But
they don't go away, folks. You know, these poor people that are homeless, living in tents. When the cops come in and kick them out of a place, they don't disappear into thin air and that's the problem's over. These people still have major problems, now even a little bit worse, because now they're going to find some other place to go. But trust me, they'll be relocated somewhere else, and it's going to just repeat itself until we as a society recognize that people are in those kinds of trouble, they need our help. And if we did it properly, they wouldn't be out there, you know, squatting in tents in places where they're not wanted. If they still want to be in a tent, we should have some places they could be in a tent if that's how they want to live. And we are so discompassionate to that group of people, and these people down here, mostly because of the drug war. The drug war has scapegoated all of these people and said, those people are the reason that we have drug addiction. Those people are the cause of all, and they're not at all. It's the complete opposite, other way around.
And you're going to be across the street from the train station for Cannabis Day?
We're going to be at Thornton Park.
Thornton Park, yes.
Thornton Park, right across. So that brings us to 4:30.
Okay.
And 4:30 is the Martin Medical Moment. The Martin Medical Moment is the segment of the show that we devote to pursuing what's going on and what has gone on with the fight for access to medical cannabis through dispensaries. And we call it the Martin Medical Moment because one of the poster boys for dispensaries was Jerry Martin. He couldn't have done it more compassionately and couldn't have tried to do it more the right way and they've come after him in ways that would make you think that he had some sort of well, come on in, Jerry. We're not kicking Glenn out. I didn't have a chance to tell you.
Watch all three of us. I forgot about that. Yeah.
We're doing a little bit of a different format, and we'll see how that goes.
You want me to move? I can move if you need me to, Neil.
I mean, you guys are pretty far apart.
Yeah, let me do that.
Do you want to back up a little bit, or?
Well, the mic is not. You can't get far enough back because I couldn't get any sound out of the other mic.
Are we all on screen?
Yeah, you're pretty far apart though.
Yeah, I'm gonna go start. Jerry.
Oh, perfect.
All right, I'll go.
No, you come over here.
All right, let's do this. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
You come over here.
No social distancing allowed here.
Okay, there we are.
Yeah.
There's a delay on that, but I'm pretty sure that when it comes back, there we are. That's looking much better.
There we go.
Except we lost Jerry.
Yeah, I got light Jerry. All you have to do is ask. There we go. How's that cigar coming? Oh, Jen's got it. Stop again.
So, Jerry Martin, sir, how are you today?
Good.
Yeah?
Good,
You're
yeah.
still going, you got these therapy things going on?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and that's all going good?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, it's
So,
intense, dude.
What do you think of our place here?
It's cool, man. I like color.
We're going to show you the place, you know.
Somebody's ringing.
Who's ringing?
Well, there's rings on this side.
But that's quite the ringtone.
We now have music on the show. Hopefully we aren't infringing on any rights to that. So yeah, Jerry, we decided to open up a medical dispensary in a little bit of a different way. And I want you to tell us a little bit about what you had to go through. It would be like 7 years ago now, right? When you started
7,
that.
8 years ago now.
We started putting the dispensary together, and it was kind of an iffy thing to do for sure with the laws the way they were, right?
Yeah, especially where it was.
Yeah, in small town Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So you were a little bit concerned about what the local RCMP might have
for
to say.
sure. Yeah, I went to them, to tell them, just to be safe, right?
Before you opened the doors?
That way, if there's a problem, just tell me, man.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
And that was
But they
before.
never told me.
That was before you opened the doors.
Yeah.
And so you felt comfortable enough with that interaction that you decided, let's open the doors.
Yeah, from the information I was given at that time, I better be in gray area and all that. It wasn't comfortable by any means.
Because they could get different orders.
I'd been sober for about 7, 8 years at that time, and I hadn't broke any laws, except for smoking a little weed.
Yeah, and they all knew you, of course.
Yeah, and I was trying to change my life, because I got off the drugs and all that sort of stuff. So it was a big decision. So it wasn't that easy, but I did it anyway.
And when you did it, you tried to be pretty careful about how you did it to protect yourself from those things. And what did that all involve? Like doctors' permissions and stuff?
Yeah. So the first couple of years it was a little sketchy until I took things over myself. And then I started getting quality stuff from BC. Sometimes I'd fly twice a week.
Because getting good cannabis would be hard here too.
Yeah, absolutely. I bought it for...
I learned that on the
years, and it was $80 a quarter straight up, and it was like that forever, and that's the way it was there.
And that wasn't very good weed.
No, it was always Purple Kush because nobody knew what the name of it was.
and there was a lot of Purple Kush being grown because that was the plant that they thought that yielded the best and what have you. So So by the end I had over 50 strains available. Right.
Topicals. Topicals.
Edibles.
Suppositories, you name it. But I made sure that everybody got a doctor's note or at least had proof of some kind of ailment.
Because the doctors had to confirm that there was an ailment that cannabis would help with, basically.
Yeah, or they had to get an affidavit signed that saying they were telling the truth, Or,
did that exclude a lot of the people in town that wanted to use your services?
Really, everybody's got anxiety.
There you go. So you were good then about figuring out that it could work for most people.
Yeah, for sure. The more I came out to BC, the more ways I found that.
Did you have a doctor helping you that you would refer people to?
Well, a lot of the locals doctors, like around the community, and one in Regina. There's a couple others. At first, I didn't. Right? They wouldn't even give people's medical records.
What did you do about young people?
So young people, I would send them into Regina. I had a doctor there. I sent one in, and the doctor was getting kind of upset, but they didn't leave. I told them, don't you leave that doctor's office. until you get it signed. They got it signed.
We're not doing any of that here. We don't think we have to anymore. It's unfortunate that the government would make you go through those kind of hoops. Unfortunate not just for yourself, but unfortunate for the people that would like to access what you've got going on here. You know, you figured out how to make it work for most of the people that came to see you. But I know that, you know, around all across Canada, there was many people, even in the big centers, that just couldn't find a doctor to help them. They just couldn't get that status.
Yeah, it was very difficult at first in Saskatchewan.
That's immoral. This is the government doing that to force people to have to not get access to medicine because they can't get that stuff.
Well, they started firing all these doctors. So these doctors
Right.
lost their jobs.
They were threatened.
Or they just moved to Ontario. They had enough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not only that, that's a violation of your natural personal right to medical autonomy. I mean, doctors don't prescribe you something and then you have to take it. Doctors prescribe you something because that's their best opinion based on all the pharmaceutically paid schooling that they got, and you don't, and that's just their advice. That's all it is. But you know, we have medical autonomy rights. We have personal rights here that have been trampled on all the time, and this is one of the biggest areas where it's been trampled on, and it's one of the most important and crucial as well, because we're talking about people that are sick, and you know, what kind of a person would ever cause a sick person to suffer more and not allow them to get the help that they needed? So this whole thing is a real violation of our personal autonomy, and we're not going to do it here. We believe that people get to make up their own mind about, you know, adults get to make up their own mind about what they want to try to pursue for themselves. And if they want to pursue cannabinoids therapeutically, then we're going to allow them to do that without having to have a doctor give them permission. And with respect to the youth, the Canadian Senate in 2002 spent a couple of years and millions of dollars just talking about all the things to do with what would happen if we made cannabis legal and how would we do that. And they very clearly stayed in there that 16 should be the access age for retail cannabis for very good reasons. And so that here we are going to do that. That you know, there's 16-year-olds that are now starting out on the journey to get involved in the misuse of opioids and other street drugs and things like that. And cannabis can steer them away from that.
I was a full-blown cocaine addict by 15. Right?
And we won't help at 15. Would your parents at 15 have brought you maybe to a cannabis dispensary and said, okay, you can sell my son weed?
Yeah, Mom brought me to prison, actually.
We don't feel we have the right, and that's, you know, for many reasons, to interfere with people under 16. But under 16, those are people that are under the real care of guardians and parents, and it's nobody's outside right to interfere with that, and we certainly would not do that. We're going to be very careful to not involve anybody who's under 16. But 16, by the time a person is 16 years old and they've decided that they're going to start using cannabis or other drugs, and their parents can't stop them, and they don't stop them. And that's the problem that we have here, is these rebellious teenagers that go out and get themselves into a lifetime of problems because of the path they go down.
I wish I had a safer place to get it at 16 and
Exactly.
get sketched out friggin', you know what I mean?
Burning off the
And then
corner
you're
off
getting
the
ripped
line.
off. And
Yeah.
I think that's...
And maybe even worse, because that was the main point, was where do we want our 16, 17, 18-year-old sons and daughters to be going and getting their drugs or their cannabis? We certainly don't want them in some guy's basement suite, you know, or around behind a garbage can in an alley, or out in the middle of the forest somewhere at a planned meet. This is how people get raped. This is how people, you know, oh my God, this is where we do not want our children. This is where those children get bumped up from the cannabis that they went to buy to the white powder that's on the table and all of the rest of that. They should be able to go to some place like this, where they will be properly taken care of. They will be properly educated about that path that they're on. And we will do the very best to deal with those young people the way that their parents and guardians would like to have them dealt with. And we can be held responsible. We are here, and we're going to do our very best, and we're going to try to keep those young people from going down those paths that they otherwise might if they didn't have a proper access to the information and people that care about them. I know it's a controversial area. Look at that, I got two of them going on. But it has been well thought out, it has been well covered by the Canadian Senate, and those we will not turn them away from our door to have them go to the dealers down the street. That is for damn sure. And we stand on those decisions by the Canadian Senate and by reason. And that's how we're pretty much.
And there are some pretty mature 16-year-olds out there. And there are some immature, but when I was 16, I was already living by myself and paying my own rent and stuff like that. So
I was smoking weed at 16, and that put me in pretty compromising positions lots of times.
Yeah.
Right down here on the downtown side.
I was selling hash and acid on Yonge Street at Young College. I wasn't in any positions just because I always had it, so people were always happy to see me and stuff.
I came down
I
here.
got robbed a couple
Actually,
of
I think I
times.
turned 16 in Dominican Republic. Yeah, and I was getting in trouble there.
Well, you started early getting it all.
The coke thing when he ends up in the Dominican Republic.
It's more like a girl that usually led me down to trouble.
You know, we live in such a yin and yang universe. There really is such a balance going on all sides.
Yeah.
And Jerry, you're not alone in being someone who, you know, lived. I don't know if I'm troubled life or whatever. You know, on that side of the issue. And here you are, you know, now it's been, 14, 15 years sober, something like that.
12? I don't even know, 12 or something.
Whatever it is, but
I forget.
and 7 years since you decided that you were going to, even though it was a scary thing to do, you were going to try to get people access to cannabis.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you got yourself the reputation as the king of compassion. I don't want to embarrass you, but you gave back to your community and in such profound ways. And that's a model that we're going to do as well. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute, but tell me a little bit about, you know, what
Got a
you
new
do.
one now, the Robin Hood of psychedelics, they call it.
Yeah, you're doing the psychedelic thing now, which is really awesome as well, because psychedelics are so important in helping people with depression, anxiety, and addiction, and those things too.
And then that
So-
lady that's using it for cancer, she's about to die, and she's really scared about it, but she's using mushrooms.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's a big thing nowadays.
It is, but you know, and in 7 years, and my point is that you were on sort of that side of you know, how society views people, and maybe the trouble you got into, and maybe the trouble you caused for other people during that time, and what have you. And you came to a point in your life where you wanted to give back.
Yeah.
And so in giving back, you decided to risk it by opening a
Risked it all.
dispensary. And you did risk it all.
I lost it all.
Well, it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. I'm
No.
still confident that there's a lawsuit coming where you can sue the ass off those bastards and get enough money to get all your property and shit back. And I can sell that house again.
That's good. I'll buy it back from you.
But yeah, you know, and like I said,
Burn it down.
and like I say, Jerry's not alone in that.
Grass first.
I had a lot of good memories in that town.
No, it's a common thing, actually. And I know a lot of people that came out of that and decided that, hey, they wanted to give back, they wanted to be that different person because that's best for their soul. And that's the yin and the yang of it all.
Yep. So doing some bad and then come around and doing some good, you know. Lots of people have done it.
Well, yeah, that's the best thing I know how, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what we want to do here, is we want to give back to this community in pretty profound ways. I mean, we're keeping the markup at bare minimum. We have a business model that we think works when we have the proper volume to sustain that, and we're sure we're going to get that because of all of this. But we're still, even with that, we are going to be in good positions down the road. And we want to give back too. And so my business partner knows someone overseas that is a dentist and would like to you know, come and do like 4,000 hours of community service to get his thing.
Well,
and he'll work for
about 50 of it.
and, well, yeah, there's people all through our community, and the people that we're seeing that come in here, I think that's maybe one of the #1 health issues going on here.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, for sure. Dental's a big thing.
It really is.
I was talking to Dr. Knowles about that the other day.
When your teeth aren't good, it affects how you eat. It affects your inner organs. It affects
Get a root
how
canal
you think.
tomorrow, man.
You know what?
I get a root canal tomorrow.
Root canal tomorrow. Well,
Hey, they're not that bad.
No. It's the pain that you have before that's the worst.
my good friend Guppy, may rest in peace, he used to say, you know, welcome to my dream. And this is a dream that's going on here. And what we're dreaming of is that we're going to be able to use the resources that we've been able to build here over the course of the next few years, and we'll be able to give back to the community in ways like that. In fact, the Cannabis Substitution Project is just one little pocket of the Serious Hope Society. And the Serious Hope Society that we formed is going to do some really good things on the downtown east side, and this is like the first step in getting all of that to happen. We're providing opportunities for people right off the bat. There's going to be a lot more going on. The sidewalk has never been cleaner than in the last week that we've been here, and that will continue. And we're going to have counseling services for people, and we're going to have programs that people can get into to educate themselves. There's going to be part-time employment opportunities for people, and we want to do a whole lot of good. And that's why I'm just over the top excited. You know, I've been talking about it for a long time.
I brought a bunch of cupcakes today.
Let's see the cupcakes.
Yeah.
From
Amy.
Yeah, Amy was saying that.
Grandma's cookies.
Wow, there you go. She
And
just
do you wanna
she
go
spent
over-
like all day yesterday
Yeah.
making these things, right?
Have Tony
There you go.
stop the
Yeah,
traffic
so
for a
you
minute.
guys, you can sell these and then just use the donations.
Oh, you brought them as a donation for
Yeah,
us?
I gotta take the trick.
Oh, isn't that
Yeah, there you go.
beautiful?
Nice.
Well, let's go over and see. Yeah, and I just might. Yeah. I haven't had any sugar in 2 weeks. I haven't had any
They're not
candy,
bad.
cookies,
They're
or
not super sweet.
and you don't understand what I'm saying, Jerry. Me, I haven't had any sugar in 2 weeks. That's never happened before. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, I've been a sugar addict my whole life, but I just started not feeling good, and I just, and Carol Gwilt, bless her heart, you know, when I told her how I was feeling, she said, you know what it is? And I said, okay, tell me. She goes, it's sugar. And I'm like, damn, that's what you weren't going to say that, because I know you're right. So,
They feel better?
well, I've had a tough couple of weeks. Yesterday was my first really good
Are
day.
you replacing your natural sugars?
Well, I haven't been eating quite properly, and I went through some migraines, and so I'm getting over that now. But I have no desire to eat a cupcake. I have no desire to take any of the snacks that I got all around my
Well, that's
room
a
there.
weed cupcake.
I know, but it's the sugar. I'm telling you,
That's good, man. That's
all
good.
my life I'd be like, yeah. And right now I'm like,
Especially for 420.
right now I think here and I think here,
Well,
and I'm
you're
like,
getting older than you. You gotta change.
I gotta
You know,
change
started
up the
taking all
diet.
these vitamins. Brad got me all this fucking shit I gotta take every day. Now I don't got it. I get to take it. Yeah, and making me feel a little better. And veggie shake I'm drinking every day now
see,
too. Yeah.
it's time. You know, I had to really adjust things when I got to be 45 and I started to get a bit of a gut. That's when I started doing the freedom tours not long after that, and you know, and I cut down a great huge amount at that time. But I put it to a level well below where it was before. And hey, Ted, don't go anywhere.
Yeah, correct.
Don't you dare go anywhere, sir.
You can't walk out.
And and your timing is impeccable, I'll tell you. All right.
Go on.
So, yeah, anyway, you know, we'll see how I feel, but I really think now it's time to make that another adjustment down if I want to live, you know, any much longer, because, you know, sugar's been really a bad thing for my body. Great for my taste buds, great for how I feel, because, you know, I love eating that. Oh, it's so good. It's like an orgasm in your mouth, isn't it?
I don't know what that's like.
Well, I do. I think I should stop talking about it before I have something, you know? Let's go for a walk. Let's see what this place is all about. And the first fella you're going to see besides the three amigos is this fella right here. Hello. This fella here, Ted Scully, was my first volunteer with the Cannabis Substitution Project that helped to make it happen, because I really needed help when it got that there was a lineup in people. And Ted became my head of all the other volunteers and ran that position for a few months. And we got the Cannabis Substitution Project going and running. And then he got a job and he had to go live out in Surrey. And he said, I got the guy for you that's going to do what I do for you, which is hard to do because it's actually a very, very complicated thing, believe it or not, to be the head of the volunteers at the Cannabis Substitution Project. There's a lot of things to keep going on. We've got a big lineup of people that have problems at times and lots of other things. And so he introduced me, come on over here, come on over here. So he introduced me to this gentleman. I want to hug too. We're hugging each other in British Columbia, people. We're hugging each other in BC. Nice. Andrew has been our head of volunteers ever since. For 3 years and maybe just a little bit. It's been 3 years and 4 months. Hey, how about this? And he was everything that Ted said he would be, and he really has helped to make this project such a success. We've given out about 250,000 high-dose edibles into the downtown east side of Vancouver in 3 years and 4 months. We have made a huge impact in this neighborhood. All of the people here, if you go and talk to just about any of them, They'll tell you that cannabis is part of their solution to what they're trying to do to get through one more day. They all understand that it is a valuable tool in their toolbox of what it takes to deal with whatever they deal with. And that was not the case 16 years ago when we opened the Herb School, and that was the big part of helping that happen. We were there for 3.5 years and then got shut down by the government, and one of our main suppliers opened up what has become the Blue Door, and the Blue Door has been operating over there for, I don't know, 10 years, probably 11 now they're coming up to. And offering, you know, affordable cannabis to the people here on the downtown east side. And then the cannabis substitution came to be when the government said that the dispensaries couldn't sell high-dose edibles and people were dying of opioid overdose. And I knew from my experience at the Herb School that high-dose edibles really works for that. And so we started the Cannabis Substitution Project, and these two gentlemen were integral in that. And now the neighborhood is all about weed. I mean, people still have issues and people are still using other drugs, but many of them will tell you that they're only using cannabis and that got them off of all of those other drugs. And we're still in progress of cleaning up the neighborhood and helping people get better in their lives. And this is another great step. So here's our very modest stock and stuff going on at this point. We're just starting. We've got the basics for people. These are, this is orange cookies, this is black domina, this is Dutch cheese, this is platinum blackberry, and it's all tested, by the way. And there's a couple of ways to test things, but these have been tested by the best equipment that you can get for testing weed, but they've also been tested by my son. And he's a damn good tester, Dan is, and he likes them all. He gave me full thumbs up on all of them. So, and that's what everybody else says too when they come here, and that's the only way we want it to be, because we're going to test everything. We got a sign up there. It says all cannabis has been tested and or provided by trusted sources. Nice. And that's all you need. You don't need to have the government make sure that they test it and you got the right amount of pesticides being used and fertilizers and other things in there. We know that many people that grow cannabis that have been putting it out into the marketplace for a long, long time care more than you could imagine about what that product is that they put out there. And these people that have been helping us at the Cannabis Substitution Project for all these time, those are those people. And so we trust their cannabis. We also test it. But just to make the point, all you need in a dispensary where you're selling cannabis to people is to have trusted people, and you can test it if you want. But trusted growers, tested weed, and there's no problem. The government is way out of line in their monopoly of cannabinoids and the production and the sale of such. They are way out of line. And they're going to have to come back into line because they're hurting people, they're killing people, and we're going to show how you save people's lives and really help people. And if the government wants to come and interfere with what we're doing here, I pity the fool. I really do. I will gladly argue this in court, in the media, in anywhere you want about whether or not people that are down here struggling in their lives in all the ways that they are, why they shouldn't be able to come and get some cannabis if they want at not only reasonable prices, but over here, welcome to the Cannabis Substitution Project. It's now a program, and it's 2.0 of what we were doing before. Because now, instead of being 12 hours a month, going to have huge lineups of people wait in the rain and the snow and the heat and all the rest of it, and poor people that struggle to even stand, have to stand in a lineup for hours before they can get what we're there to give them, because that was pretty much the only way we could do it there. So now, instead of having 12 hours a month where those people have to do that to get what they need, they can come here for 196 hours a month and they can access their cannabinoids here. First, they fill out a form. We register them. This is the form that we're using for the government, federal government study into the use of cannabinoid therapeutics as an effective replacement and treatment for people otherwise using street drugs. So we asked them basic questions about what their experience with using cannabis has been, what other drug use has changed as a result, and what other changes have they noticed. It's very basic, but it also allows for pretty in-depth reporting on those 3 areas as to how it's been working and stuff for them. So they become a member here. Everything is membership driven here. And once they're a member, they can come here and they can choose from this tray. Oh, and I've got another beautiful donation from Robin Edwards in my car that I haven't got yet, so there's going to be more stuff than this as well. But this is what they have to choose from. This was just yesterday. The MJ Creams people had some of this that they gave us a few of, so I just put that out there. What you don't see here is the topicals that I'm sure we have from Robin Edwards, and that we're going to continue to have, and we will always have topicals for people from this point on. Pretty sure about that. And what we have here are high dose edibles, and they can choose 420 milligrams of the high dose edibles, and then they can get 420 more milligrams 4 days later. And if they need to purchase more, well, they can become members of the Healing Wave dispensary, and they can access these fine strains of cannabis for $3 a gram, or they can purchase more of these types of gummies. These are jelly bombs, and we're selling them for what the wholesale price is that this company charges, and that's because they're going to sell it to us for $2 less than their normal wholesale charge. And then we can use that to $2 as a cost recovery and a way to raise funds for the Cannabis Substitution Project. The dispensary, of course, will be giving a percentage of the profits to the Cannabis Substitution Project, and we're allowing our staff, well, our staff are actually volunteers here, but we're remunerating them enough that it makes it really worth their while, so that they can come here every day and help people and have them sign out or fill out those forms and choose from what they want. And that's how that's going. These, by the way, cubes are 75 milligrams each, so that's pretty strong. There's also joints that they can choose from. We have these types of energy bars, and there's beautiful cookies. These are gummy balls. They used to be gummy bears, but the anonymous donator of these, who's been donating to us for almost a full 3 years, they were being hassled by the government, threatened, and had to change them into balls because, you know, adults can't have gummy bears because kids like gummy bears, right? Well, if ever there was a kid that was significantly harmed by cannabis, they might have a case, but there never has been. Kids get into cannabis, you shouldn't let them get into your high-dose edibles. That's probably not something that you would like the experience of, and they might not either. You can eat too much cannabis edibles, and children are small, and you shouldn't let them get into it. So be responsible as parents. Not hard to do. You're supposed to know how to do that, and don't let your kids eat this stuff. But if they ever had a kid that ate it and really got harmed, well, then maybe they'd have a leg to stand on. But that's never happened, because when kids get into high-dose cannabis edibles, it sometimes knocks them out for a couple days, and the parents take them to the emergency and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, once that, the next morning, typically, the next morning, they wake up, they're not only fine, they're better than fine. They feel good, they had a really good rest, they're more energetic and more alert. And that's my experience, and you want to prove me wrong, go for it, but I doubt that you can, because the evidence is pretty clear on cannabinoids and how they work for the human body. And you don't get to be 19 years old, as the government says, or 16 years old, or whatever it is, and all of a sudden, you're going to have some ability to use something to help you with your endocannabinoid system. No, you had that endocannabinoid system since you were first born. You were born, and right away you were put on your mother's teat, and yet what's coming out of there is milk full of cannabinoids, because that's what nature's all about. There's cannabinoids in mother's breast milk, and of course there would be, because that brand new baby has an endocannabinoid system, and that system's going to look after all those other systems in the human body, and so, you know, kids need cannabis too. They just don't need high-dose edibles, and neither do adults, by the way. That this is enough to really harm, as far as how you feel, adults. That you can get very uncomfortable eating too much. If you were to eat like say 4 of these. There's 300 milligrams right there. Someone who's not really, some medical users use thousands of milligrams a day, I understand that. But you know, the average person who's not used to that, that would be a very, very uncomfortable experience. That you know, your head will feel like it's this thick, you won't be able to get out of bed. And that's that for that. So yeah, well, we have these things too, you know, we have straight. We're going to have just a whole range of everything that a person could use in the way of cannabinoid therapeutics, and they can get it for free here if they qualify financially after the 200 or so people that are going to just get grandfathered into this program because they've been coming and lining up outside of Andu, you know, for the times that we've been there. So I also have some papers here, and they're for sale at $2 a piece, and some lighters and some wraps and things like that. These were from a donation from Saskatoon, when a dispensary there, Pat Warnicki's, one of his affiliates, or his I think it was his store, that had to close there, and they sent the Cannabis Substitution Project a great big box full of all of these things. So we put them out for sale, because I think that they'd be okay for doing that, and all the money raised will go to the Cannabis Substitution Project, and the products are priced in such a way that the people in the neighborhood can get a good deal on something that might be twice the price somewhere else. So now I want you to meet this person. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi.
We actually have a social media superstar on our staff. Got that way because she's such a wonderful person that just decides that she doesn't like seeing things that aren't quite right around her, and she helps fix them. And she came early on in the Cannabis Substitution Program in our lineup to get some of our free cannabis high-dose edibles, and asked if she could volunteer. I think you were a roller first? Okay, no, you tell me. I talk way too much, so maybe you talk for a minute. Tell us about your experience and what's your history? How did you end up here?
Well, the lineup was very frustrating for me and for Sarah, because yeah, we would show up like 3 hours early to try to make sure we were at the front of the line, but somehow 50 people would manage to butt in line before it all started. And so yeah, it got very frustrating. So I kept pestering you guys to let me volunteer, and eventually I gave Ted my number, and he asked me if I wanted to have a smoke sesh one night, and came over. We smoked a bunch of weed, ate a bunch of edibles and honey, and rolled a bunch of joints. He's like, "Yep, you'll fit in."
And then I needed some help bagging things. I think Michael the Cookie Monster,
Yeah, he had to stop coming.
responsible for these cookies for almost a full 3 years and 4 months that the Cannabis Substitution Project has been running. He also supplies OPS with these cookies, and he also has a network of people that he helps with them. He's just a wonderful guy. I was at his house the other day. He just bakes all the time. And these cookies are really, really wholesome. He puts great ingredients in there. His real concern is nutrition on the downtown east side. There are about 30 milligrams of cannabinoids inside there, of THC as well. But so yeah, Michael was helping me to bag things, and then he wasn't able to come, and so I chose Jen, actually, and she did not let me down as far as my choice. She pretty quickly took over as being in charge of putting all the stuff into bags, and that's not an easy job. You've got to assess how many people are in the lineup.
Or how many people are going to be there.
Are going to be there, yeah. I don't even know her job.
The line grows while we're there.
It certainly does. And yeah, you package up what you think based on all the big boxes of stuff that I bring in, what we can put in per bag to make it all.
It's better to have more and be able to let people go through twice than to do too big of a bag and not have enough for everybody.
That's very true. That's very true. And you kind of made that adjustment. I don't think I had too much to do with that. I did realize that the bags didn't have as much in them as what I would like. But you're right about how that worked out.
Because it's hard to judge how many people are going to end up showing up.
True.
Because yeah, like one time I showed up and there was only like 10 people in line. I thought that was crazy, but of course by the time we actually started handing stuff out, it was around the corner. So it's not possible really to guess how many
first to some, we did have bigger bags usually for the first 120 people, and then one item less for the next 40.
I remember one point in time we were able to do 2 packs of gummies per pack per bag.
Yeah,
so.
and like you say, because people go back a second time, many of them do get that second pack of gummies, because there's at least one gummy pack in each bag. It isn't really fair for the people that can't go back through the lineup. That they've already been standing in line for a while, and now they just
usually
have
if
to
they tell you that, then you're willing to get
I've always been pretty good at if they're good enough to ask, and some people are and some people aren't. Some people are too good about asking, and some people aren't good enough. And I always want people to tell me what they really want to see if we can help them. So
Which will be easier here, right?
won't it really though? I mean, no more of any of that, right? We've got one more time at Vandu coming up 2 days from now on Thursday. That'll be our 300th time since we started doing this. I never thought it would take that long before we had a storefront.
Though, right?
Because this has always been my vision. This is what I always thought that we would have it like, is that they'd be able to choose what they want, and they will come to understand their own need for indica or sativa or CBD. And
Well, it's
now
all about experimenting, right? To see what works best for you.
So I mean, this is 2.0, man. This is like no more pre-bagging, no more just give people what we think that might help them. They get to choose, and if they want all cookies, or if they want all gummies, or all joints, or whatever they want, they get 420 milligrams every day. No, they can get 420 milligrams, and then come back 4 days later.
4 days later.
That's
still twice a week.
it's still pretty much twice a week.
Can I sign up and find out?
You want to sign up?
Let's do this.
All
Show
right.
people how simple
I
it
take it
is.
you're not already a member.
No. So this is what Ken would do, right?
That's a stack right with.
The book.
There you go.
Yeah, I know, but I'm looking for the card. Oh, you got the card. All right. So this is how it works.
Yes. So I come in.
Welcome to the Healing Waves.
Thank you very much, sir.
Are you a member?
No, sir.
Would you like to be a
I
member?
would love to be a member.
What name would you like to use for your membership?
8 out of 10 Glenn. No, Glenn Wells. You can do Glenn Wells. I'm good.
No, you're too late, man.
I'm sure.
fast.
You're
8 out of 10 Glenn.
There we go. Nice.
So
All right.
and you're getting real special service today, sir, just
Yes.
because we're doing a Pot TV
Yeah.
podcast here.
There you
Oh,
go.
because I don't
Usually-
always give good service?
No, you just don't. You just don't normally have two of us do the
Yes,
same
I know.
person at the
I'm-
same
I'm-
time.
I'm-
The staff member would fill this
Yes,
out
yes.
and fill that out,
And his
and then
number is 64.
you get number 64.
Well, I was born in 65, so pretty close.
Wow, you want 65?
Sure, I'll do 65.
All right, just put 65 and put them there. Cross that one out. Give me
Yeah,
another
sure.
card.
And that's easy for me to remember
Oh,
since
okay.
I'm old.
Anybody who knows me knows I'm pretty easy.
Yeah, well, I was born in 65. That's pretty close. If it was 34, I would never said anything.
Are you from Neil, sir?
I am actually.
So 8 out of 10 Glenn, yes. All right, so Jen says the pure indica is this black Dominia. Mm-hmm. That's a really nice smell.
I love that everybody pronounces it.
What is the pronoun?
I say Domina.
I say Domina.
Domina?
Domina.
Yeah, I'm just sounding
Potato,
Yeah. Tomato, tomato.
Wait.
Oh,
We've evolved a little bit more. We were
Okay.
using cups.
We are
And
still using cups.
Now we're putting the bags
So that it's
inside the
easy,
cups,
yes.
so that you don't have to pour the cup in. Pouring a cup in the bag's easy, but we're going to be busy. We know that. We're going to have systems that work fairly quickly.
Well, I need a bunch of these cups. I'll have them long come bag.
And on welfare day, you're probably going to have a bunch of bags already made up.
Well, for a week.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
welfare
we'll be busy,
week.
welfare
Yes,
week.
yes,
For
that's
sure.
true. Right? Yeah. So you don't touch it, you use the.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got to put it on scale first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that might help.
I'm so crazy. I do know how to do this, right?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You just won the program, right?
No, I get nervous because all these people are watching me.
Oh, that's all right.
It's funny how whenever that happens, I can do silly things sometimes.
So you're getting an
There you
ounce?
go.
Yes?
I mean,
You're getting an ounce?
yes, please.
I usually get
That'd be
distracted.
$80.
sometimes.
There you go, ma'am.
Best deal in town.
Yeah.
Or it could be that monster cigar that you had before.
Yeah, we finally finished it almost an hour
Oh, I
later.
missed out on the end of it.
You know, in the right dose, cannabis can be a focusing tool depending on the individual and how they understand to use it and stuff. We almost had a bit of drug abuse there. I don't know if you saw that.
Almost.
But, we caught it in time.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
trying
he
to
needs
address-
to be supervised, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, I know. and the right dose, it's a focusing tool. And a creative engine and things like that.
Yeah.
We always make it a little bit over, right? Because we never want to have anybody complain that it's not enough.
All
We
right.
always make it a little bit over.
That's a nice bud, too.
It's very nice.
Zoom in on that. Yeah. That's sweet. Look at the crystal on that.
Beautiful.
Wow. And it's black Domina.
Domina.
However you choose to pronounce it.
Domina.
And there you go. It's already in the bag. Full block to top.
See how well things go when you have a woman around.
That's it. Behind every great man.
Thank you very much, sir. A happy customer.
Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
And we're going to have pretty educated staff by the time we've got it all done. We're all fairly educated here anyway, but you know, we're reading up on the strains that we're selling, and so when people have questions, you know, we're hoping that we can answer all of those. And we've been at it for a long time with helping people down here, so we really know the dynamics of that. And I think that we're going to really make a big difference now, much bigger than we even did before with the CSP, you know, at Van Du. And I want to say that Van Du were so special to us in allowing us to be able to do that. I can't thank them enough. We took over their space twice a week. We made it difficult for their people, their staff, and what have you to get in and out while we were there.
They get rewarded though with some edibles.
They're going to miss you guys.
Sorry?
They're going to miss you guys.
Well, we're not quite done, and we're not very far away.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to go there next Thursday as well and do our 300th.
Okay.
And I'm going to post this too. But anybody who's been involved in volunteering, donating, helping, supporting, or you just like what we've been doing, and you're in the area, you're able to come down. Thursday, I get there at 11:30, and that'll be our last, you know, major care pack giveaway that's there, and yeah, we're going to move to here. But come on down and please be there. I'd love to see all those faces. Sometimes I try to thank people that have helped, and you never want to leave people out, and it's impossible, you know, to you know, there's just so many people, and some people so profoundly have helped us. And I will say, Weeds, Glass, and Gifts really were the boost that I needed in the beginning. When I showed up at Van Du and I had boxes full of donations, that's mostly where they came from. And they were big in the early days. The medicinal cannabis dispensary kicked in shortly after that, and they have been just fabulous right from the beginning, especially in those times when things are looking a little bit, you know, the donations are going to be down or whatever. Just at the right time, they'd be right there with everything that we needed and more. They really did help to sustain this project very much. Michael the Cookie Monster, been making those wholesome, good cookies for right from the beginning, basically. He came and approached me, I think it was within a month of really starting the regular Saturday ones. We did Saturday every year for the first month, and then moved to Thursdays and Sundays for the last 2 years and 4 months. But yeah, Michael the Cookie Monster is just a guy who cares, and he was a school teacher when I met him, and he just makes cookies and helps people, and feels really good about who he is. He understands he's one of the coolest people on the planet, and he gets to be that. And Twisted Extracts, now Gorilla, I can't thank them enough. It's been incredible. And I'm gonna now, I mean, I can't keep naming people. And there's so many more, and I know Colleen Corley, and there's so many more, you know, oh man. It's a huge list, trust me, and I'm so sorry to the ones that I haven't just mentioned, because I just can't keep going on.
Almost as big as Santa's list.
Yeah, it's a huge list. And it wouldn't have worked without that. It wouldn't have worked without all those people donating, and it wouldn't have worked without all these people volunteering. Jen and Andrew never miss. They're never not there. George, are you all right on camera?
Want to come say hello? George is rolling joints.
So we got George rolling joints.
As you can see, I got 8 fingers.
And he's been rolling joints at Van Du with the CSP every time as well.
And he helps make packages.
He helps make packages. He's been around, hanging around since early on, and just there when we needed him for lots of different things. What you want to tell us something about how you feel about us, or what your experience is?
Oh, well, when I first came to Vancouver, I was pretty bored.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When was that?
That would have been back in 90, back in the early 90s.
1990 or
yeah.
Okay.
And I never really thought about it. You know, everybody talks about, you know, how everybody in Vancouver is smoking pot and everything, and I never really thought about it until after I got hurt at work.
Right.
Fell, broke my hip, screwed up my spine, and somebody said, well, your doctor ain't giving you any pain pills, you might as well smoke weed. And I thought to myself, you know, that's a good idea, because the coke wasn't working.
You were using coke, right?
Oh yeah, I was using coke, and it's like, holy fuck, man, I just blew like $100 up my nose, and it's like 15 minutes later, it's like, okay, I'm in pain again, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Waste of time and money, so I went weed.
Yeah.
Then I ran into you at one of the 420s, and that's how I...
Yeah, because you've been rolling for 420 and other things as well.
For 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years now, yeah.
So.
And how long have you been hanging out at the CSP? Right from the beginning, pretty much?
Pretty much. I got there, I think you had been open for maybe 4 or 5 months at the time. So I was there starting just before you doubled up on your week.
And what did you think of the program?
It's helped a lot. Yeah. It's like, you know, a lot of times,
Were you using high-dose edibles before we showed up there? Or
no, I was
weed?
just eating like bags upon bags of weed when I was
You
getting...
mean smoking?
Oh, yeah.
So did you start using the edibles?
Oh, the edibles. Once I started realizing, you know, people were actually cooking with the stuff, it was like, hey, that's a good idea. And then your cookies, like I've had some cookies where like I got really affected, and other cookies, not so much. And then every now and then you hit that batch, it's like, oh my God, can I get these every damn time?
Yeah, standardized dosing in the world of cannabinoid therapeutics is not that easy, and that's okay. That doesn't mean the pharmaceutical companies should take it over, synthesize it, and have standard doses. It means that we need to get better about understanding what strains and what potencies are going into the baked goods that are being made, that we're giving out. But it's not just, you know, that sometimes there's stronger and weaker cookies. It's also that a person's metabolism is different at different times of the day. It's different, you know, all those biorhythms make a difference. You know, what you've been doing for the days previous make a difference. So, I mean, sometimes people get, you know, a little higher than they want. But what we've always figured is it's an individual journey, right?
Yeah.
It's an individual journey that people need to figure out for themselves. I remember a couple months in, not very long in, and I'm telling the Van Du board about our program, which I did regularly, was update them about where we were at. And I said, I'm pretty pleased that there's probably only been like, you know, the fingers on one hand of people that actually have eaten too much. Well, there was like 12 board members sitting around the table, and I think 11 hands went up. And I thought, oh, okay. So I started asking people in the line after that, I mean, have you eaten too much? And oh yeah, they had done that. But the follow-up question is will you do that again, and will you keep eating high-dose edibles? And the answer was, oh yeah, I'm going to keep eating edibles, and no, I'm going to try not to eat too much again. You know, so you start low and you go slow, and you learn what your own body needs and what is too much for you. But for us to tell an individual, well, this is too much for you, well, really, we have no idea. Because there's a couple people in our program that are in wheelchairs, and they, you can bring people in here, by the way. Is there a bunch of people waiting for product?
We need a ramp.
Yeah, I know we need a ramp. All right, so anyway. But, you know, there's a couple people in wheelchairs that have told me that all they need is those gummy balls. These are round gummy balls. They're 5 milligrams each, and there's 20 in a bag. So there's 100 milligrams in there if you were to eat the whole thing. But there's 5 milligrams if you just eat one of them. And some of those people say just one gummy ball, and that's all they need. And then maybe an hour or two later, they're having another gummy ball, and that gets them through their pain without their pain levels being up where they are.
I'm sorry to say that it's not.
It's
not one gummy ball no more. It's more like a package of gummy balls.
Yeah.
And smoke a couple of joints, but yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's an individual thing. Oh yeah. I mean, some people in wheelchairs and not in wheelchairs really require probably multi-thousand milligrams to deal with what they're dealing with. But that's an individual thing. And I think some people, I don't know if you build a tolerance, I don't really think you do with cannabinoids. Certainly with smoked cannabinoids, I've been a smoker all my life, and it's a 1 or 2 hoot thing for me, and I'm right where I want to be.
Well, it's in your hand.
Yeah, you see, I have a couple of hoots and I let it go out, and because I'm good and I don't think about it. And then, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes, I think, I could use a hoot, you know. And there it is. Well, for me, it's always in the ashtray, you know, just where it was a couple of times. So we got George here rolling now, and that's probably a job that he's going to have for a while, I think. Welcome to the store. This is his first day here. We've been open, this is our 6th day, by the way. We're open Tuesday through to Sunday. We're closed on Mondays. We're here from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that's all subject to change down the road as well, as we respond to the community and our ability to do things improves. As I mentioned, we're not officially open. We're helping people while we're here because they need help. And we can do that. But we've got a lot more to go in our dispensary. We're going to have a lot of local art on the walls. We're going to support the local artists, as always is. And I don't know if you saw this. Look at that. we have some things to say. And we're looking forward to being able to say them. I'm going to sneak past you guys. Wow, these
I was going to say, very carefully, don't knock the cupcakes off.
I'm not sure what we could, we need a fridge really quick. That's on our list, but we haven't got that yet.
Oh, okay, you know.
After taking them home. So come on out and see what we got to say out here. We got like, you know, cannabis can give someone their life back. Ain't that the truth? This is the Serious Hope Society. And these ones out here I'm pretty proud of. I think that might fend off some of the people who think we shouldn't be able to help people the way they need to be helped. So this is our location. It's quite nice here. Just a quick pan. We don't want to put anybody on camera that doesn't want to be there. This alley over here connects with Hastings Street, and it's like a war zone in there constantly. We're looking forward to having a part of cleaning that up and making that a better place for people to be. So yeah, this sign, of course, was just a sign that this was the right place. That told me that, oh, there's a sign that it could be the right place. It says it's a sign. So we've got a new one coming that's going to go over that pretty quick, and that'll be really nice, and you'll see that. And that talks about like that one. We're supported by Wars, we're supported by the OPS, we're supported by Vandu, and we're supported by the community, that's for darn sure. We just need the government to support us. We need the government to recognize that this is the right way to do things, and that they should let this happen the way that it's happened. Their job is to license and permit things. They should permit us to do this and license us to do this, and not put any restrictions on us that are going to interfere with our ability to deliver cannabinoids therapeutically to people that need it. And any arguments that they have about why it shouldn't be this way, I'm willing to listen to them, but they would have to have some pretty good justification as to why we would not do it the way that we're doing it. The packaging that we're using right now will improve because we want to improve it. It won't just be baggies, but baggies has been the package of choice for distributing cannabinoids for decades and decades. We're going to improve it, but we don't need to have it toxic. We don't need to have it covered in warnings. We don't need to have it child-proof. We don't need to have it so that we're, you know, single-use plastics being used for narcotics that now have to go into a landfill or be burned into something. I don't know what they do with it, but all of that stuff is obscene, unnecessary, unjustified, and an impetus that, well, that's not even the right word. It's an impediment to people getting proper access. It's an impediment. So where are we? I don't know what time is it. It's almost 5:30. What else do we want to say? I want to thank Debbie Hellion for all the work that she's done doing videos for us. We didn't get any on today, and I don't think to thank her every time. And I want to do that. And all of the volunteers that helped us at the Cannabis Substitution Project. Oh, I know what we didn't quite cover. That yeah, we're not going back to give out care packs after this Thursday. But one of the things that is very special that we've had at Vandu is people that provide hot infused food. And they're not going to be able to do that here because we've been asked by the other tenants to not have long lineups if we can help it. So those people, John Murray, by the way, oh man, I could do a whole, I should. He's amazing. John has taken this project under his wing, made it his own, and he comes every Sunday with amazing hot infused food for people. He's been doing it for 2 years, and he doesn't really want to stop because he's come to know these people. He gets that feeling of knowing you're doing good by doing that, and so he's going to continue there. And Dublin Calling, just recently, a few months ago, great people that decided they wanted to help, and they've been coming on Thursdays with hot infused creations. They're chefs, and they want to continue too. So it looks like the Sunday and Thursday Vandu thing will still happen. I don't know if they're going to get the same kind of lineups that we get, or have had, but we are also going to go there. We're going to have people here, volunteers, go up there and probably give the people that are in line a gummy and or a joint. Those that don't know about us, we'll give them a card, and we'll try to just, you know, make it work up there as well, because that's also right in line with what our goals and objectives are, and that's to have outreach. So this is kind of more backreach than outreach, but the backreach becomes outreach because now part of this program will be going and helping to make sure that that can be a success up there as well. And who knows how many more years there's going to be of infused cannabinoids being dispensed at Bandu, which is a wonderful thing. So there's probably some other things. There's other pot TV shows that we could mention. There's From Under the Influence that happens every Wednesday with Marijuana Man, Greg Williams, the longest running show on pot TV, over 20 years worth of Greg being the host of a show. And Carly Marley, is BC Bud Gal still in partnership with Carly Marley? That's on Mondays, 420 Lifestyle Show. That's awesome. We now have Johnny B taking over the Friday spot with Let's Get Growing.
How's it growing?
How's it growing? I'll get it right yet, eh? Sorry, Johnny.
It grows on you.
It grows on you. It's a great title. So yeah, Johnny B has been growing from seed, and you can tune in every Friday at 4 o'clock and find out how those seeds are developing. I understand they're now getting to be, you know, plants and everything. We're also going to have plants here for people, by the way. We're going to have clones that we'll be giving out to the CSP people and having for reasonable sale prices from the other side, and a whole bunch of other things. There's a lot more to report. We're in our early days here. Very exciting as we start our new journey of and see how far this can go. And if you want to help us, we still need a lot of help. We're going to be better by far because the dispensary is supporting the CSP. But the CSP is now 196 hours a month. And we're going to allow all the people that were part of it at Bandu to be part of it here. And we want to include a whole bunch more people because there's a whole bunch more people in this neighborhood that are going to want to come and they don't have the resources to be able to purchase it, and we want to be able to give it to them as well. So we need to continue to expand our program. We're unsure about what our limits will be or whether we can expand or whether we can even handle 420 milligrams twice a week to 200 people, which is a little bit more because our bags weren't usually around, you know, that much. But we think we can sustain it, but we need our donators to keep donating, and we need more people to donate, and this is a wonderful way for you to give back and help a community that really needs it, and to help further the interests of having medical cannabis available, reasonable access, low barrier access, not just here, but everywhere in Canada, North America, and around the world. So thanks for tuning in. I hope it's been an entertaining and enlightening show. I hope that you will further our interests of helping to have other people do what we're doing and find ways to have low barrier access, which is great cannabis for cheap prices. And while you're doing that, go about your day, have as much fun as you can. We'll see you next week.